Beer's awesome. Red dates are awesome. Our wedding was awesome. You know what wasn't awesome? Going on a bunch of first dates. In honor of no longer having to go on first dates anymore, Ann and I want to show you our signature beer. No more first dates red ale. So let's brew it. Let's start with the stars of today's show. We're going to be using 8 ounces of dates with the pits removed. For the grains, we're going to roll with 8 pounds of pale ale malt, half a pound of crystal 40 malt, half a pound of honey malt, and a quarter pound of chocolate malt. Before we add everything to our mash, take your dates and chop them up into smaller pieces. I recommend getting them as small as possible to expose as much surface area as possible. This will make it easier to extract the sugars from the dates. After you chop up your dates, add all of your grains and all the dates to 3 gallons of water that you've heated up to 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Let the temperature fall to 145 degrees, hold there for about 30 minutes, then step it up to 158 degrees Fahrenheit for another 30 minutes. Then raise your flame out temp at 168 degrees and drain your grains and rinse with about 4 gallons of sparge water at the same temperature. Bring everything up to a boil, then add 1 ounce of Willamette Hops and start a timer for 60 minutes. To make sure that you really know that there's dates in there, I'm going to add 14 ounces of date syrup about 50 minutes into the boil. If you are one of those weirdos that likes subtle flavors, then go ahead and pick between the fresh dates at the mash or the date syrup at the end of the boil. But if you want a hot date with some, well, you know, date flavors, then go ahead and do both. Put your wort chiller in a few minutes before you stop the boil, and then turn it on to bring everything down to room temperature. Transfer your hot, sticky, delicious wort into your fermenter of choice until you get to the 5-gallon mark. For the yeast, I'm going to be using Gulo Ale from Omega Labs. This stuff ferments everything and leaves you with a nice, dry, and boozy beer. After you pitch your yeast, put your lid on with an airlock and leave it go for about 2 weeks to let everything ferment. Now let's see if we had a successful first date or if we're going to go back to swiping away. People still use Tinder, right? Sorry, I wouldn't know. That's part of the perks of being married. So here's the finished product, and as you can see, it's really red. I love the color it came out of this. I think the dates and both the malt themselves gave it a really beautiful color. And honestly, I'm just really excited to try this.
Yes, we've made this, now this is the 3rd time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I really like it.
I would say this is the most strong alcoholic tasting of any of the iterations of this. I really like the taste. I think this beer is more of a taster beer, like have it and sip it over a course of time than drink it all night. Really well executed by Adam, but I think it's just more of like a sampler beer.
I would say that this definitely goes away from being an Irish red ale, which is what it originally tasted like, to being more of a Belgian red ale. Nothing wrong with that. I love Belgian red ales, but it's definitely something that I'm going to have maybe 1 or 2 of rather than have as an all-night sort of drinker. So overall, I personally love it. I'm going to give it a 9. It is one of my favorites still. I think next time I might choose to either do just the date syrup or do just the dates in the mash. So really just whatever you can get your hands on. If you can't get fresh dates at the supermarket, go ahead and just use the date syrup. It works great.
I think I would give this beer a 7 or an 8. Really well executed again, not my favorite kind of beer. Dates are a really unique flavor. You don't get them in beers very often, so it's a really fun experimentation. Not the craziest thing we've done lately, but it is a really, really well executed beer, and it's really, really tasty. So
yeah,
give it a try.
Highly recommend it. Cheers.
Cheers.